Hey, old Josh here, and welcome to my second Gamera review. I'm actually doing these, just to clarify, as the Shout Factory DVDs are coming out, so don't expect the next one until around September, I think. But that is a double feature, so anyway, just forewarning you. Regardless, this is my review of Gamera vs. Barugon, the sequel to the Japanese kaiju Eiga giant monster movie, Gamera the Giant Monster. And this is the first of the Gamera series to include another monster, the fighting Gamera, as the title would obviously imply. And I've really enjoyed this film. As much as I got a lot of comments saying that I kind of maybe gave the first film an unfair shake, calling it too silly, I still stick by that. I think it is a very silly movie. It's a lot of fun. And while Gamera vs. Barugon is still quite a silly movie, it has much more merit to it, I think, and has got a lot more going on. Most obvious, I think, is that the story is not kind of just the giant monster attacks Tokyo plotline. It does have that in there, of course it does, but it also has a strong adventure element that takes up the first 20 minutes to a half an hour of the movie that kind of gives you an origin story on Barugon, the new creature introduced in this movie, and I think that's why this movie works quite a bit, to be honest. It adds a really kind of fresh take on it. It gives the human characters something to do, frankly, other than look off screen and supposedly marvel at the monster's destruction going on all around them. As well, there's kind of a cool little smuggling plotline going on that runs throughout the movie, and this movie has a really good villain too, outside of the obvious Barugon. We're rooting for Gamera here. Come on, we're watching a film series about him. It has the evil Onodera, which I guess I kind of spoiled that, but really, the dude's wearing huge sunglasses right at the beginning. It should be pretty obvious. Not to mention he's the shadiest member imaginable for a smuggling group. Anyway, the story starts off where a couple of people are going back to New Guinea to this one specific cave where one of their compatriots has hidden this huge kind of emerald in the cave that they think is going to make them a fortune. And of course, when they go there, as huge fortunes or huge treasure hunters tend to do, they turn on each other, Onodera being the most obvious person to do so. And the movie progresses from there. Little did I know, this egg is... I guess I spoiled it there. This emerald is actually Barugon's egg. And I gotta point this out too, by the way. The egg is found in what the natives say is the Valley of Rainbows. Yeah, real threatening name there. But I think that... on that note, I do want to stress that Barugon, the actual creature, is really cool to watch because while he's not really the greatest looking monster, his design is fairly bland and, frankly, kind of an obvious ripoff of Barugon from the Godzilla series, but at the same time, he is really interesting because he has unique features to him and really bizarre ones that, even though the movie focuses a lot less on Gamera outside of an opening scene, he only appears 3 times at the movie, beginning, middle, and end. And it's cool to see Gamera and all, but Barugon is a really cool creature to watch. He has disintegrating rainbows, a giant kind of tongue that shoots out and has freeze breath in it, and he can't stay awake in water when it rains. Absolutely bizarre, and trying to get all these things together is just a very interesting creature to watch do things, cause destruction, and particularly us for some really cool freezing effects. One point in the movie that really sticks out is when Barugon fires at a couple of jets, and there's a shot of the jet now crystalline, kind of just breaking apart in midair just from the sheer momentum of it. There isn't nothing holding it together any longer. And like I said, although there is a lack of Gamera, which many will see as a fault, I think it works quite nicely, sheerly because that Barugon is just a really great creature to watch, and it's great to see Gamera duke it out. I still say that Gamera, I mentioned in my previous review, is more of a pit fighter monster, unlike Godzilla, who just kind of constantly uses the breath attack. Gamera just kind of goes all out, grabbing things and wrestling the person down, biting them, and it's really a lot more kinetic battle scenes, I think. And still even more on display in this movie, because he has another giant monster to actually fight, rather than the kind of puny humans. Overall, I really did enjoy Gamera vs. Barugon. The story had a decent pace to it, and seeing Barugon, just learning about him, actually propelled quite a bit of the movie, and this kind of adventure and betrayal plotline that they have set up, rather than just the typical Tokyo's attacked plotline, I think really helps add depth to the human characters that are frankly pretty sorely lacking. Everyone is basically who they appear to be. The main male character, Keisuke, is just like, oh, I feel bad for this, we gotta get this guy back, all for justice. And the main female lead simply titled Karen, she doesn't even have a last name, is the damsel in distress. She does come up with a few plans, admittedly, so she's a little better than most, but still not given a whole lot to do. And as much as I like Onodera, really doesn't have a whole lot to do other than just be kind of the, "Arr, I'm evil," and he does it really well, don't get me wrong, but yeah. Some of the supporting actors are a little better. The head of the village is quite good, as well as, I can't remember his name, Keisuke is the main character's brother, is the one who discovers this thing in the New Guinea. It was quite good as well. Didn't really get a whole lot of chance to do much of anything, but definitely great in the role. Also, I wanted to point out, too, that there are some fight scenes with the humans that are pretty well choreographed. They kind of start out a little awkward, but seem to get into a much better pattern. Particularly the last human fight scene in the movie, I won't spoil anything or say where it is quite cool, actually. They really planned that out. A lot of these movies kind of seem like they're just improv, because they're just really shoddily made sometimes, but such is not the case with this one. There's clearly a bigger budget spent with this. They got bigger actors. It's in color, did I mention? And the effects really, really look great for this time, of course. No doubt helped by Shout Factory's really good master of the movie that they've put out on DVD here. Last thing I did want to mention, I keep saying last thing, it's not even the last thing now I think about it, is that there is some intentional humor in this movie. I know, my god, you don't laugh at this movie just because it's incompetent or because it's silly. There's actually some really good puns in this movie and some really good jokes that kind of came out of left field, because most of these movies are quite dead serious. And while this one does have a very serious tone, despite some kind of quirky subject matter, it's not afraid to crack these jokes at itself and at the whole genre, and that's really appreciated. And I need to cover the sound as well. I apologize for the messiness of this review, guys. I'm actually doing this really late at night, and I apologize for that, but I think I've got everything I wanted to covered thus far, so I'm just going to go on and hope you'll forgive me. And that the sound in this movie is quite good. I really like the Battle March theme for Gamera when he goes to fight Barugon at the end. I don't think that's a spoiler because it happens in every one of these giant monster movies. And other than that, the music was good, but nothing really stand out. I mean, during the portion where they're in New Guinea, which is an interesting set, by the way, for one of these types of movies. Again, the adventure element plays a good role. They have a lot of tribal drums in the background and things like that you generally expect. And the whole army marching scene going on, preparing to fight against Barugon. One thing I did really enjoy as well was kind of the how can I put it? I guess a lot of the music when they're luring Barugon into a trap. That's the best way to put it. Is really good. It's kind of classic, maybe not in the best way, but I did enjoy it nonetheless. I thought it suited the movie, and it definitely helped the scenes it was in. So yeah, overall, go and check out Gamera vs. Barugon. It's a fantastic entry into the kaiju genre, and if you like giant monster movies, you're going to love this. You might be a little disappointed at the lack of Gamera, but at the same time, the rest of the movie's production qualities and actual structure is much better than most giant monster movies that I have seen at the very least. So you'll probably enjoy it more from that perspective, and in the end, things will balance out. With some great effects, a better story, and a really cool monster edition, this is definitely a movie to check out. Stay tuned for my review of Gamera vs. Gios, which I think is the third one in the series, and coming with the double feature, so that's October.